behind it, or the belief, because this whole series is about the viral beliefs that we hold on to. The thought behind it is something terrible is about to happen. And I'm sure you're familiar with the responses to fear. So it's fight, flight, or freeze. And so this dis-ease of paralysis is very much related to the response of freeze. We understand that we all respond differently to what comes at us, but psychology has identified usually the three dominant responses are either fight, flight, or freeze. And so I'm sure you might have noticed for yourself, but if not, today is a lovely chance or opportunity to reflect and see, how do I respond when I'm faced with some kind of fear? And so just how do I identify whether I am afflicted by this disease of paralysis? So Mike talks about it as the primary symptom is fear. And it's interesting that these can manifest in a myriad of ways. So it's experienced as anxiety or panic, tension, even worry is some form of fear, and insecurity. And then at the extreme end of the spectrum, it would manifest as some form of terror. And if we think about it, when one experiences this kind of freeze moment or paralysis that's gripped in fear, it's almost like you can't even think about what's the next step. And literally, it feels like being gripped in this energy. And so one is, how can I protect myself from not coming into the extreme form of this energy? But then also, how do I prepare myself? And so we look at that shortly. But just moving on, the fear stems from the viral belief, which is, I am about to lose something. And so again, just think for your own life, think for yourself. When is it that you come into this energy of fear? When is it that you become fearful? And it might start off with a little bit of worry. It's not going to happen the way I wanted it to. I'm scared that this is going to happen to myself or to someone else. I'm going to lose something that I own. It's going to get damaged. Many different kind of thinking and beliefs that we hold on to. But at the core of it, it is this idea that I am going to or about to lose something. And then the interesting thing is sometimes we have fear on another's behalf. So someone's going through something perhaps, and usually when it's people that are close to us, there tends to be more of this kind of taking on other people's things, and we become emotionally entangled in someone else's story as well. And so within that is this belief that if I feel what you're feeling, I'm helping you. But we know that that's not true. That doesn't hold true, because if someone's going through difficulty and I also put myself in a position where I'm going through difficulty, I can't support that individual. And so creating some sense of detachment is a useful method in not taking on other people's things. But the main thing here that I think I want to touch on is what sort of expands on this fear or makes it into something very big is the misusing of our imagination. Because most of the time, our fear is unfounded. It's based on this thing of something is about to happen, which means it's in the future. It hasn't happened yet, but I manifest it in terms of my thoughts, overthinking, overanalyzing, creating stories that then instills that energy of fear. It might happen, it might not happen. And most of the time, it doesn't happen how I imagined it. You know, even a simple thing like Maybe there's a difficult conversation that I have to have with someone, and maybe we have to discuss something sensitive. And so before I engage in that conversation, or before I meet that person, I'll create a whole story in my mind. If I say this, maybe they're going to think this, or they're going to do this, they're going to respond in this way, they're going to react in this way. And then what should I do? And we spend that time before the situation even happened, just imagining various outcomes. And unfortunately, when we do that, we tend to look at the worst possible outcomes. But it creates tension, fear, anxiety, worry, all of the expressions that is associated with fear. And usually when you do end up engaging with the person, it's not at all what you envisaged and what you created in your mind. And so just beginning to see again, whatever it is that I'm creating, especially in my mind, how much of it is true, is based on fact, is based on a deeper knowing, and how much of it is really just my own story, just my own imagination. And when I can create that distinction and recognize it, then I can change it quickly and just drop that imagining story that I've generated. And we love telling stories, so it's become very easy to get caught up in that. So just recognizing, how do I respond to fear, but then also how do I make it bigger than what it actually is. And so then let's look at, how do I free myself from this energy, from this emotion, from this dis-ease within the self. One of the things that generates fear is insecurity. A sense of loss means if I lose something, I'm not going to be secure. And so when I can release myself from a false sense of security, and a false sense of security is that I believe, because most of these are beliefs, that something external to who I am, to what I hold, is going to create that kind of feeling of safety and security. So externally, the world is driven primarily by fear. And so if you think about it, we put up big walls, we put up electric fences, we have the alarm systems. And it's true, we do need those things, because the reality is that's the world we live in. And it creates some sort of comfort as I live in my house, in this body. But the key is, how do I create an internal sense of security? And this really comes from a deeper awareness of myself. And the fourth point, I've got hold conscious awareness of self. When I know that I am an eternal soul, when I know that I can never die, because much of the fear that we hold is that not just losing something, but losing my life also is a big aspect of fear sometimes. But when I create as my reality this understanding, awareness, and experience of being pure conscious light energy that can never be harmed by anything external, that can never die, it's that creates a sense of security. So externally, yes, I take care, I put into place all the things that I need to, that will support me. But internally, there's this feeling or the sense of who I eternally am. And that word eternal is important, because no matter what happens with time, and time is always changing, I remain the same, I remain eternal. And so as a practice of that, I do become more secure within myself. So that's the one element. And then the other one is beginning to shift from wanting to control to being a companion, and a companion on two levels. One, with other people. So I don't seek to control how others live, what they do, what they don't do, how they respond, how they don't respond. Because when all of these emerge in my relationships, then it can also trigger elements of fear, uncertainty, insecurity. So on the one hand, in my relationships, can I begin to move towards how do I support and work with you or the energies around that can then bring benefit and help to ease whatever might be in that relationship. But on the second level, how do I become a companion of the drama of life? And one of the perhaps awareness or thoughts that I like to keep in mind for myself, that sometimes we feel that life happens to us and, it becomes difficult, it's challenging, I never expected this. And the reality we know is that I make a plan, but my plan is not always going to unfold the way it needs to. And that in itself might create a worry or a fear that I wonder if it's going to work out. So in a way, I plan, I do whatever I need to, I prepare, I hold those goals, those aims, those objectives. So I do everything that I need to. But I also then let go. I'm able to say, okay, I've done whatever I need to do. Now it's out of my hands, it's out of my control. So let me see what the drama of life is going to bring me. And so when something happens that might not be according to plan, let me not get caught up in that energy of fear, of worry, of tension. But let me see, how can I work with what's come my way now? So what's the next plan of action? So that I don't get stuck into this freeze mode where I can't find solutions because I can't think straight when I'm gripped in that fear. So it's building a different relationship with the drama of life. And then the next aspect is realizing that I have nothing to lose because nothing is mine. So I was reminded the other day that as souls, we are all guests in this world. And the meditation commentary that we heard before we started this session spoke about my home is beyond this physical world. So I'm not of this world. I live in this world. So when I came into this world, I came with nothing. And so when I leave, I go with nothing, although I go with everything in terms of the qualities that I hold, that I have within myself. But because I own nothing, I can't lose it. And so again, it's creating a different attitude with which I live my life. And so a beautiful awareness to hold, I'm just a guest. Or the other consciousness that we try and hold is I'm a trustee. And it's a lovely, lovely concept to hold because a trustee doesn't own anything. It doesn't claim ownership of anything. It uses everything that it needs to, but there isn't the attachment associated with ownership. And so in doing so, I take care, I look after things, I fulfill my responsibilities, but I go, don't get stuck on anything. And so because I'm not stuck and I'm not holding on to anything, the fear of losing something is reduced substantially because it's not mine in the first place. So we looked at the other one of holding the conscious awareness of self. And then ultimately it's about letting go of the attachments. And with all attachments, there is some limited belief that we're holding on to. And the two viral beliefs or limited beliefs that we've created and internalized is possession is possible, that I can claim ownership of not just things, but we tend to claim ownership of people more than things, and loss is possible. But with both of them, if I understand that I don't own anything, then I can't lose anything. And again, with this idea of loss, When I have the awareness that I am a spiritual being, a pure being of consciousness, then there's nothing that I lose. Yes, I might go through changes. The energy within myself might vary from a high positive space to perhaps sometimes a low space. But I never lose anything. And even when I do go into that low space, I have the capacity to bring myself back to that higher level of consciousness. And so I can move out of those spaces of loss or less than. So those are some of the things I wanted to share in terms of freedom. Before we move on, I just wanted to stop for a moment and see if there's any questions or any thoughts that anyone wants to share or ask before we go into some reflections. Okay, doesn't look like anyone has anything. If something does come up, please do feel free to put it in the chat as well. But let's move on then. And this is really an opportunity to self-progress or self-reflect. One of the things that Mike does, especially behind or at the end of each of these chapters, or where we're exploring the dis-eases, is he brings in 3 aspects, and Sister Aruna took us through it yesterday when she was doing the heart as well. And so today, as a practice, and I'm going to invite you to do it now. If you don't have a piece of paper, that's fine. Maybe you can just think about it. Write down 5 things you will lose in the future. And so it could be, I might lose my hair, or the color of my hair is going to go gray. It's inevitable. I might lose the energy that I hold right now, because with age, we know things change. So things that are inevitable that I'm going to lose. So think about 5 things you will lose in the future. And if you can't think of 5, even 3 is fine. How will you feel when they go? And how long will it take to recover from those feelings? And I feel this is important because sometimes we might think or believe, I have no fear. And it's true, predominantly, we might not have fear. But when we break it down and we bring in this element of what is it that I'm attached to, and what is it that I might hold as something I'm going to lose, then we begin to notice that, yeah, there are elements of fear that might be generated because of the attachments that I hold. And so just take a few moments for yourself to try and identify what are the things that might hold fear. And then, so let me give you a moment or two for that, and then we'll move on to the realization. So write down a few things that you will lose, and do feel free to put it in the chat or unmute and share. Okay, so I'm hoping you could identify, if not 5, 5 could be a little stretching, but 1 or 2. But you know, even in the course of the day, you can think about it deeper. And I see Sharad's put loss of life, a loved one, health, financial incapacity, definitely. And you know, Sharad, thank you for sharing. But these are so real, it's things that we will experience at some point. And so it's not that thinking about it is gonna, it's not that the intention is when I think about it that I create more fear about it, but it's about how can I safeguard myself from something that is very probable in happening, so that when it does happen, I'm able to draw on the preparation that I've created beforehand so that I don't struggle, I don't suffer. And so that's the second part of the reflection. How could you ensure that when the time comes to be parted from all that is in your life, you will not suffer? And here, yes, there are certain things I can put in place on an external level. For example, if it's financial fear that I might lose, then maybe from now on, let me simplify my life. Let me be more economical in how I use my finances. Maybe I'd be a bit more conscious of how I invest it and I don't waste my money. So definitely I can put things in place. But secondly, then internally, emotionally, how can I prepare myself? And typically, the loss of a loved one is something that can happen at any time, suddenly. We can't foresee, but I think in our lives, we definitely are going to experience the loss of losing someone. So how can I safeguard, prepare, protect my inner world so that I don't suffer? So I might experience the pain and the discomfort of that, but suffering is when it's prolonged, and I supposedly don't have control over my emotions. So take a moment of what can you do, for yourself based on where you're at and your relationships and understanding. So again, I'll give you a few moments for that, like a minute or so. So great. Roshni has shared, continue with my spiritual knowledge. That's really wonderful. It's true. When I create a constant and consistent practice of wanting to deepen my understanding, and the practice of meditation helps to reaffirm that understanding, then definitely provides one with spiritual strength and power. So thank you. That's a wonderful, wonderful practice. Thank you for sharing. Do feel free to put it in the chat, or like I said, also unmute. Okay, so hope you someone wanted to share something?
Yes, thank
Trevor.
you. Oh, yes, this is amazing. So I didn't put losing a loved one on my list, but since it's mentioned, I realize, it's importance. So I think maybe, although, it's not easy, but I think maybe I could, spend time with them now, enjoy, do my best so that if they do go, I don't have regrets, because I've seen people, they moan when someone passes, more regretting what could have been. So I'm just, yes, thank you.
Such an important aspect you're bringing in, Trevor, that it's true, the suffering sometimes is very much related to the regret. I could have, I should have. And so while we are here and we have them in our lives, let me maintain good, harmonious, peaceful, lovely relationships and enjoy their company now. That's true. You know, the other thing on a deeper level, which I find helps to prepare the self spiritually and to strengthen myself, and it's something that I've been practicing for a little while now, is just creating this awareness that in my relationships, I remind myself that they too are a soul. They also belong to God. I have the fortune of being in their company and sharing this time with them, but they also will continue on their journey. And so there's a feeling of appreciation of the relationship, but not attachment. And ultimate, their connection is with God and with the divine. So on a deeper level, as an internal personal practice, maybe it's something you'd like to explore. I definitely find it's been very helpful. So I move past the relationship or the labels of relationship. This one's my mother, this one's my brother, because then the closeness of that relationship can create more attachment, which makes it a bit more difficult to come to terms with the loss when it happens. But when I create this awareness, they are a soul just like me, and we have this wonderful time together, I find it helps support on a different level. So I see some others have shared some beautiful things in the chat. Kia's saying deeper meditation practices. I know and understand that the body has left, but the spirit will live with us, making it easier to let go. Yes, definitely a powerful practice. Vasinda is saying, I also feel when God is with me, I am safe. He will care for me. My prayer and meditation makes me feel safe. Yeah, I think that's also a very important point. My security and safety lies in my relationship with God. And then Cynthia sharing, remembering that we all are souls and a soul is eternal. Just that one idea definitely can free me from a lot of things. So wonderful sharings. Thank you. And so, you know, for the next few days, just see how would you feel and what would you do differently if you realize that in reality, you cannot lose anything. So creating this attitude, this culture, this habit, this practice, this security of I owe nothing and so I cannot lose anything. And just for today, you know, just navigate in the day with this awareness. I'm eternal, I have nothing, and I can lose nothing. And try and take your sense of security from that divine source. And at the end of the day, see if the way you lived your life and the experiences you had was any different. So thank you all. Do, you know, explore these a little bit further in your own time. But I think we can just go into a meditation now and create that sense of internal security. So let's go into a short meditation now. So as I sit here, let me take this moment, this opportunity to center in the awareness of who I am. I remind myself that within this body resides a soul, that this is who I am. And I create that one thought that I, this point of light energy, am eternal. I allow this thought to settle into my being so that it's not just a thought, but I feel myself as being eternal, unlimited, expansive in my consciousness. That in this awareness, nothing and no one can harm I, the soul. So take this moment to feel the reality of being eternal. And so in this awareness, very naturally, any kind of fear dissolves. For in most instances, fear is a manifestation of my own thinking, based on some limited beliefs that I might be holding. And that in the awareness of who I am, I free myself from the belief and also the fear. And so imagine for a moment that I hold absolutely no fear. I'm fully aware and present of the awareness of who I am and the fullness of my being. I hold everything, even though I own nothing. Within this lies my freedom. Within this lies the lightness of being. I feel fully supported by the divine, by the constant presence of God's energy in my life. I lack nothing. I need nothing. Again, take a moment to create this as a feeling, an experience, one that holds the energy of abundance, of fullness, of pure spiritual power. And so as I move through my day, in my interactions, in the many, many scenes that life offers me, let me respond from this higher awareness that I am eternal. I own nothing, but I have everything, because at every moment I have God by my side. Let me experience the lightness that this will offer me for this day. Om Shanti. Thank you. So enjoy your day, and just a reminder that this evening we have our meditation from 7 to 7:30. It's entitled Ladder to Success. It's a beautiful meditation commentary. So do join if you are available, but we will all meet again tomorrow morning to continue this wonderful journey of an exploration of understanding the immunity of the soul. So have a wonderful day, take care, and remain light and experience freedom. Om Shanti. See you tomorrow.
Om Shanti, sister. Thank you.
Thank you, Joachim.
Om Shanti. Thank you so much. Enjoy a nice day.
Thank you, Kia. You too.
Om Shanti. Enjoy the day. Thank you very much.
Great, Cynthia. Wonderful.
Nothing to seek, nothing to gain, nothing to know, nothing to lose, nothing to do but let go. Let's rest here, where the future and the past disappear. Here, in the sanctity of now. Nothing to prove, nothing to own, no one to be, nowhere to move, already home, already free. Let's just stay in the cave of the heart today and bask in this ever-present love. Nothing to fix, nothing to change, nothing to fight. Only what is. And what if what is just right? Why not trust this mystery living us and rest in the refuge of the self? Nothing to judge, no one to blame or fear. Only my face greeting me in the mirror. Nowhere to turn, nowhere to hide, nobody else, nothing outside, that isn't inside myself. Let's just see, is anyone here but me? Here in the present moment now. Nothing to know, nothing to do, no one to be, nowhere to nowhere to go, or a home.